Hello, Bamiji here with another transit. So today we are looking at line 4, gate 17, line 4. The sun transits into this position on Tuesday, March the 26th at 20:59 GMT, of course. Here we have two quite similar themes being discussed. We have, on the one hand, opinions based on the understanding of others and opinions attracting others. It's a fourth line day, it's a friendly networking line that needs opportunities from others in order to externalize its theme. Opinions have to be pulled from it. They have to come from its network. They have people coming to them saying, "Oh, tell me about your opinion." It's that kind of thing. They don't work so well with strangers, the fourth line. The Earth is in gate 18, of course, line 4 as well, where the support of the collective is needed in order for correction of the pattern to work. Now, if you can see that something needs correcting and there's nobody out there doing it, it can drive you a little bit crazy. The moon is in gates 32 and 50, giving us a sense of the necessary continuity of things in order to further the ambitions of the tribe or the family, and also the desire to create good values for the sake of the tribe. Shall we dig in a little bit further? So the fourth line day then. We have the usual keynotes for the fourth line. They're friendly, they network, they need opportunities brought to them, they're very fixed, and so on. I have a new keynote to offer you today, and that is corruption. Corruption is another one of those words, of course, that can be misconstrued, but Ra explains it as being more to do with the fixedness of the fourth line. It's not actually about the fourth line trying to take over the universe or anything like that. He talks about corruption in the context of a fourth line businessman who has a factory making trainers and is so fixed on producing these trainers that he'll do anything to externalize his vision, his theme. Even if it means that there are children in some faraway country crawling down mine shafts in order to get the materials for his trainers, he still will carry on, even if there are consequences. So that's the corruption that he talked about in this line. When you come to a fourth line, that fixedness can cause all sorts of sort of nuances, I guess. Fixedness is not wrong, of course. It can be quite challenging for other people. It can also be quite challenging for the person who has the fourth line. They can be so focused on things, so fixed on things, that they end up overdoing it. And then if there's an open sacral in the mix and they never know when enough is enough, then that can lead to burnout. And burnout is the name of a different fourth line in gate 30. So we have again the genetic continuity. Ra said that the fourth line is about the human resources of the material plane. People are the biggest decisions and investments that they ever make in their life. Gate 17, line 4, is called the personnel manager. This is a very influential line, the line 4, and they are naturally influential too. Here we find a logical teacher. The mirror to this line is the 11-4. So you've got both of them are in collective circuitry, and one is the logical, which is this side, and then the teacher is actually called the teacher in gate 11, line 4. I've got a pigeon looking in at me in the window. Go in. Thank you. So here in the 17, line 4, we have the logical teacher. Okay, so again, the genetic continuity, it brings all of these fourth lines together. Wherever you find a fourth line, you're going to find that teaching quality. And also remember that this gate is about serving and ruling. So the personnel manager has a gift for understanding others. And you have to understand others before you can rule over them in an ideal world. It's essential, really, because in order to rule and to rule successfully, you're really serving the other. So I'm going to talk about, or when I talk about this, it makes me think of that infinity sign. You know, you have the ruling and the serving and the ruling and the serving, all of them kind of mixed together. The excitation and the detriment, really quite similar. Possibilities of opinions based on the understanding of others and the possibility of opinions attracting others. So this friendly and networking fourth line, you know, it needs others. I mean, that's it, really. It's not a line to be on its own. There's no lifetime learning here. So this tells us that people who are born with the 17-4 in the exaltation, they're just born with this quality already. You know, they're not growing into them over time. So a child who's born with the 17 line 4, they're going to start teaching as soon as they can talk, sharing their opinions on what you're doing right and wrong. That can be fun. Sometimes the fourth line can be so fixed on externalizing their message that the results are not always what might have been hoped for. You know, Ra uses the example of his early days in sharing the human design knowledge, teaching it, getting it out there, sometimes putting on courses and then adding a few extra seats when it sold out because money was a bit tight in the beginning. And so they would try and get as many people in as they could. He said that, you know, you could fill those extra seats, yes, of course, but you always ended up with twice the problems from the person sitting in those extra seats. So you're not always getting the outcome that you think you're going to get. And there's a need for both the exaltation and the detriment to be sure that the ones that you are teaching, the ones that you are sharing your pearls of wisdom with, that they are actually ready to hear what you've got to say. You know, so they need to be willing, they need to be open. Otherwise, then you might as well just not bother. And in a way, of course, I guess that comes back to strategy and authority. If it's correct for you to be there, if it was correct for you to put those extra seats out, then the right people are going to come. So on one side, you have the fourth line who is checking on the motivation of those who want to come to the teaching, checking for their opinions, their influence, and maybe using some of that second line discrimination that we heard about. While the other side of this is that you don't care who shows up because what you have to share is so valuable that you're going to externalize it regardless. And then in the 18 line 4, we find the line called the incompetent. There is a lifetime learning with this line, and it says that the difficulties as a result of inadequacies that cannot be resolved because of the inadequacies. Which is, it's another infinity one, really. You can't fix it because you can't fix it, because you can't fix it. Nothing you can do. It is what it is. Our fourth lines, upper trigram, they know that there's something at the other end of the channel. You know, they know that there are others. They're just waiting for those correct opportunities in order to be able to externalize their corrective energy. Opportunism is a major keynote, really. They're called the opportunist. That's their profile name. And it's a keynote as well in various other places of the fourth line. You know, genetic continuity, whether it's in your profile or not, it still fits. So another one is the abdicator. So an 18 line 4 who doesn't get the support of the collective when they're ready to externalize their correction, they can say, okay, hands off, I'm off, I'm out of here. And they can really suffer because of that, because they're not designed to go it alone. You know, they're not necessarily tribal, of course, because it depends where and all the rest of the other activations in the chart, but that friendly networking thing, it needs other people. I suppose that's collective as well, of course, that energy there. So it's not a line that needs to go it alone. It can be quite unhealthy for a fourth line to be on their own too much. Although the other side of this they can get people fatigue. So they also need to know when to withdraw. Correction is a collective process. We know that simply because it's in collective circuitry. We need others to help us. On our own, we're incompetent. I have this in the line for detriment. So I need others, very much. I need others to help me. As always, of course, it has to be the right others. You know, it has to be correctly entered into. I have to share my correct corrections with the correct others in the collective in order for things to move along as they are supposed to. So when you see something that needs correcting, but there's nobody doing it, and you can't do it on your own, this is also something that can be really deeply uncomfortable. You know, this is the detriment in this gate. It can cause a lot of anxiety there. See something that just can't be corrected. But that's back to the lifetime learning of this line. You can't fix it because you can't fix it. And it isn't personal. So the moon, we have the moon going into gate 32. So we're still in that splenic energy with the moon. And it goes into gate 32 at 1432. And this gate tells us that the only thing that endures is change. It's the gate of conservation and continuity, tribal gate. It will change, it can change if it has to change, but it will make sure that the change is here to stay. You know, it won't commit to something that looks a little bit fly by night, you know, if it hasn't really settled in yet. It's not going to support any old revolution. But once the revolution has, you know, settled in, then it will come out and say, yeah, okay, we're right behind this. It doesn't like to sort of hedge it likes to hedge its bets. It doesn't bet on the outsider, really. So the mirror gate to this is gate 49, which is the gate of revolution. The revolution has to be established. It's also tribal, has to be established in order for the tribe to really, truly embrace it, take it on board, and, you know, make it part of its process. And then we go into gate 50. This is actually the next gate into the next energy, but again, it's the gate that you're going to wake up into if you're in this hemisphere of the world. And it's the gate of values. So values which may leave the collective scratching its head. Really? Why? But for the tribe, it's necessary. This gate has a very keen intuition around which laws or which values are going to help the tribe and keep them secure and ensure their survival. Other spleen gate, the splenic gates really they're all about survival. You know, that's what they're all fixed on. So how's your network looking today? It's nice to have these two tribal moon gates in on a fourth line day, really, where there's the potential for opportunities to network and further our ambitions, keeping an eye on what might need to be corrected, waiting to share our opinions so that they land correctly when we do share them. That's it for today. Yeah, be back with the line 5 next time. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.